like, oh yeah, I got bit in the leg and the shark ripped my damn arm off and hey, I survived. I'm going to, recover and I'm gonna go for it again. I'm like, you're a good one, but you're an idiot.
G'day, Darrell.
Man, my man, what's going on?
What is going
Yeah,
on with you, mate?
man, not much, man. It's just been, you know, putting time for myself, working, stuff like that. So, I'm just taking it one day at a time, man.
Well,
Taking it
you
one day
you're
at a
looking
time.
good. You're sounding good. Your light is a whole lot better than I remember the first time we met.
I
I'm like
appreciate it. It's been a while, man. It's been about what? Almost
three,
about
four
3 months.
months.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been a little while, man.
a
It's
lot can
been a
happen
little
in a few
while.
months.
Man, you ain't lying there, man. And like I've been on Instagram and I saw like different clips of different people from the podcasts that you've been on and learned some things about you I didn't know. And I was like, wow. Like I think I haven't been really doing what I need to do here in this case because me and you when we get on we just we talk and we just talk and we keep talking and sometimes it just slips through the cracks, but you know how it is though. You know exactly how that is. Yeah, so in this case there was one thing I wanted to ask you because like I said I saw it on Instagram and I seen that you talked about your near death experience. And it blew me away. I think you sent me the video itself too, also. You also sent me that too. And I never knew that this happened to you, especially when we had um talked the last time. And I wanted to and I really wanted to get into that. I wanted to ask you about that. Like what had happened and what was really going through your head at that time when that happened. I'm curious.
Yeah, sure. Happy to share. So we're live now, are we, Darrell?
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
all right. So
For sure.
so what Darrell's talking about is I've had a few NDEs, near death experiences. And in this version of reality, I lived, I survived, and I'm able to talk about them. And one of
Mhm.
which was a shark attack, and
Yeah.
that's interesting for me in the way that I grew up on the far west coast of South Australia, where it's the world capital of great white sharks. And as a small child, I used to wake up screaming from nightmares of sharks, right? And it's not like the boogeyman where you check under the bed, oh, the boogeyman's just a
Yeah.
figment of my imagination.
Sure.
These things were real, and they you'll see them in the water. And it's not
Okay.
like you can say they don't exist. So as a kid, that was like a real primal fear. And I loved
Yeah.
the ocean, but I was scared of sharks, right? So I'd get in the ocean, but I'd never go more than maybe a foot deep. And so in my adult life, I have since been able to, get in the water. I tested a particular shark repellent device called the Shark Shield, which is like a leg rope. It's got two
Hmm.
electrodes and it creates this electrical field that
Yeah.
overloads the shark's senses. The shark, being an apex predator, it has these very developed senses, and one of the senses can pick up faint electrical pulses. So when a fish is stressing in the water, that's letting off electrical pulses, right? And the
Yeah.
shark can pick up on that. But this shark
Hmm.
shield overloads that. It's like getting kicked in the nuts, right? So when I've
Oh
seen it, when a
wow.
shark gets close, they basically turn themselves inside out to get away from these things. So I tested this shark shield device, and it worked, and I was comfortable enough to get in the water. And when I did that, I realized that sharks aren't killing machines. They're they're like us in the way that they have rules. Like when someone goes inside your house, Darrell, and they start kicking over chairs and disrespecting the place, you'd be like, get out, you're not supposed to be here. But if they come in, they conduct themselves properly, and they treat this place like it's their own, all of a sudden, you can stay here. And sharks are exactly the same. If you go into their space and you're freaking out and you're not feeling like you're supposed to be there, they start seeing that. They're not, looking at you, they're looking through you. They can pick up on the electrical pulses in your system. So if you're stressed, they can sense that. If you're focused and together, they can sense that too. And I realized that, these sharks have rules just like we do. And I was able to, have a successful career as a commercial diver. I've been a free diver for over 20 years. I've been spearfishing for over 20 years. The rules do change when you spear fish. Like when you've speared a fish in a shark's environment and there's blood and there's the fish stressing, that gets the shark a bit excited. And that particular day was on one particular, and there's always sharks in the water. It's actually a really healthy sign to see sharks in the area, because that means there's enough biomass in the area to support this apex predator, right? So there's obviously it's a very healthy sign, and you have to remember sharks are the ocean's doctors, okay? Yeah. In the way that if there's a sick fish, the doctor will take care of that fish. And it's shown in areas where there hasn't been sharks that sickness and disease decimate the population. And nature has that way of balancing it out, and sure. So sharks shouldn't be, they're not murderers. They're a very healthy sign of the water, but on the occasion, and I need to say this to start with, Darrell, if you cut yourself and you're bleeding in the water, do you think a shark would be attracted to that?
Maybe. I would like to think so.
Well, most people think yes, because blood in the water, but it's a specific type of blood that sharks are attracted to. They're attracted to marine mammal blood. We're land mammals. So they're not attracted to our blood. I mean, and they don't, we're not actually on their menu. Most people, when they get attacked, it's from what's called an investigatory bite. Like they're like, well, I'm not sure what that is. I'll take it. I'll put my mouth on it. Oh, that's not what I eat. Okay, we're not on their menu. So normally if someone gets attacked, it's from an investigatory bite where the shark takes a bite. Nah, that's not what I eat. But then you bleed out and die. It's actually very rare that people get eaten by sharks. Not impossible, but very, very rare, because we're simply, not their preferred food option. And so I'm just saying that so I can put in perspective, I want to share my story to educate and not just drum up a bunch of sensational, shark-based fear. And so I was spearfishing one weekend, as I normally do. I had another mate. This was in 2008, and we were diving off a reef called Mary's Reef out of Sydney. Yeah. And it was a nice day to be out, and I had another commando buddy with me in the water. Yeah. And there was a bull shark in the area, and it was taking our fish. And I'm normally quite cautious with sharks, right? But it wasn't huge. It was maybe 2 meters long, and bull sharks are quite edible. So it's already taken our fish, like off our float line. And I'm like, this thing's not going anywhere. It's just taken our fish. Let's make a meal out of this thing. So I spear this thing, and the way to drown a shark is you pull it backwards. And so I'm pulling this shark backwards through the water, and it's going completely limp, right? I pull it for, and I keep swimming backwards because sharks have to keep moving, otherwise they drown. They've always got to have water going over their gills. So you pull them backwards, they drown, right? So I'd pulled this thing backwards. It went limp. I pulled it back more and more and more. Okay, this thing's dead. And sharks are in their fins, they're full of ammonia. And a lot of people don't know that shark tastes amazing, but they think it tastes bad. And the reason why that is if you catch a shark and you leave the fins on, the ammonia from the fins goes inside the meat. But if you catch that shark and you cut the fins off, then the flesh stays tasting amazing. Now, some Asians like shark fin soup, which I think is fine, but I've often seen them just throwing away the shark. So I got no problem, catching something and eating it, but you want to honor that thing. You don't just take one thing and throw the rest away. You try and utilize as absolute much as possible, or recycle it through the environment that you've taken it from. So anyway, this shark, it's dead, pulled it backwards, nothing going on. I shake it and all that. And then I thought, well, I'll just start cutting the fins off. So I take my knife and I slice one of the fins, and that's when it wakes up. This thing was lifeless, but then it must have been given a burst of adrenaline or something, and then it just wakes up. And I've got it by the tail, and it's swinging its head around to try and bite me. And this is where your knowledge of marine life comes in handy, because what you'd naturally do when you see a shark head coming towards you, you would try and move your hand away. But I knew that this particular species of shark can't bite its own tail, right? So as the head came towards me, I pushed my hand towards the head, which when I had his tail, so I was pushing his tail towards his head, and so the head couldn't reach back. And so whenever it would turn back, I would push its tail towards its head. And that was working, and it was happening pretty quick, because all I was seeing was bubbles and, blood and teeth just coming out. And I'm going by feel of what this shark is doing from the tail of it, right? And it was working, but what was happening is it was pushing me back, right? And my legs came up in the water, and then when it turned around, it grabbed onto my right leg. Yikes. Okay, and I'm like, shit, this thing's got me.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
I then right, time to go to the secondary, because this thing wasn't big. It was about 2 meters, but you never know how strong these things are until they've got a hold of you. This is its environment, and if you've ever seen a dog pick up a soft toy and just shake it the toy looks like it's flapping its wings, right? You can't see. It's just a blur. That's what this shark was doing to me. I've never felt my whole body, every single part of it, get shaken so violently. It's like my body was shaking outside of its skin. Like my body would go and my skin would take a second to catch up. It's like this thing was shaking me inside my own fascia, if you know what I mean.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going out like this. So I find my knife, and in amongst all the shaking and tossing around the place, I drive it into this thing's eye. And I discovered then that it's actually quite hard to stab something underwater. You really have to sort of position yourself. And I'm stabbing this thing, and it is not letting go. If a shark's determined to get you, I believe it will just get you. So I don't actually believe it when people said, I punched the shark and it left, or I did something and scared the shark off. No, the shark obviously didn't want you, all right?
Right.
Because, eyes are a pretty vital part to an animal, and this thing was locked onto me, and I'm stabbing this thing and nothing's happening. And I'm, it's pulling me deeper underwater. The fear here wasn't getting eaten. It was drowning. And two things happened that day that stayed with me. One was looking at this shark on my leg, like biting, and almost like looking up at me going, arr, arr, right? This eye contact with this thing biting onto my leg. And I had a classic NDE of my life flashing before my eyes. Everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I see it all. And I'm like, well, if this is all the information I have, let's pull up all the information on sharks. And
Yep.
so literally all the information on sharks came up. And that was completely useless because it was all the times in all my life that I've been completely terrified of sharks. Okay.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, these are the results, but this is not working. Let's put a new search in, right?
Sure.
And so the search I put in was predatory animals, one down from sharks. And here's the funny thing. A few years before that, do you know, you probably would have heard of the crocodile hunter, Steve Irwin, in the
Yes.
States?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
All right.
I did.
Well, he's got a right-hand man called Wes. And Wes is a good mate of mine through jiu-jitsu. And he got munched one night by a crocodile. It bit him above the butt and behind the knee, and it sort of squashed it all together.
Wow.
And Steve Irwin saved him, right? Who else to have
True.
around you when there's a croc on you,
Absolutely.
you know? And I went up to visit him when he was in hospital after the croc attack, right? And I asked him a question. So what was it like to actually get bitten by a croc? I want to know.
Yeah.
And this is the room I was in when I predatory animals. I'm in the room with Wes in hospital, asking him this question. And what he said to me really, well, changed my perspective. He said, Tim, my whole life I've been terrified of crocs, but there was a part of me wondering what it would be like to actually get bitten by one. And it was kind of like, wow, it's actually happening. This is kind of answering a question right now, somewhat almost cathartic, right?
Yeah.
And when I got that answer from Wes, when I'm in that sort of space of seeing my life flash before my eyes, I'm like, well, I feel like I've got the right emotional frame to then go back into this moment. So I'm in this moment. I'm like, wow, yeah, my whole life I've been terrified of sharks, and it's actually finally happening. It was strangely like a release of some kind. This one thing, and now it's happening.
Yeah.
And as this thing dragged me down deeper, another lesson came through. I saw Jimmy. Jimmy was my mate who was a commando as well.
Yeah.
And who do you want around you when good times turn bad, right? And Jimmy, to be honest, he's one of those guys that he's a little hard to be around, you know, but when shit gets real, I'm like, I'm so glad he is the way he is. Like he's a bit of a hard nut, kind of hard to be around, but that's the man you want, you know, when shit goes wrong.
For real.
And I can see Jimmy's eyes, and he's got this look, and he's like, I've got this, and I got fucking you, you know? And in a situation where I should have been completely stressing out, and I was kind of half drowning at the time, I understood from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet what trust in another human is.
Yeah.
And it just gave me this peace, this clarity, this relaxation, trusting in this other human, right? And with this shark on my leg, I could see he was lining up with his spear gun. I moved my body so he could get a clean shot. And, you know, this thing's moving around, and he's trying to take a shot with a gun, but it was good to be in that space with a fellow commando, because when we train on what's called a 360 range or a kill house where
Yeah.
you're used to shooting quite close to each other. And I turn, I trust in my mate. He takes the shot. His shot is true. It goes straight through the shark. But spears aren't like bullets. They don't
Right.
shatter. They just poke holes. And sharks, they're like whatever. I can still keep going. And so it actually it made it made the situation honestly a little bit harder because there's now another because I'm getting tangled up in my float line, right? So I've got now
Yeah.
there's a spear gone through the shark. The shark is fighting a way to get from the spear, and Jimmy's tugging on the shark, and I'm getting tangled up down here. And I mentioned earlier about the shark shield
Yep.
and how it helped me get in the water. Well,
Hmm.
I was wearing a shark shield that day, but guess what? Dumb old Tim didn't have it turned on,
Ooh.
and and unfortunately, this was an older version of the shark shield. Like the old phones are like big bricks, okay, and the new
Yes.
ones are really small. Well, this
Yeah.
older version of the shark shield was like a big brick on the part of my leg, the very part that this shark had bitten. Okay, so
Yeah.
in some ways, the shark shield was doing what it was supposed to do. It was protecting me. It was acting like a shield, but not in the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the point is I'm drowning,
Yeah.
and I see that the on switch for this shark shield was actually inside this shark's mouth, just in the crack. Like it was trying to bite down, and it was just in there, right? Like it had its
Yeah.
mouth open, and I could see there was a little triangle of space. Okay, and so I'm like, well, look, my whole body's going to die. It doesn't matter if I lose a couple of fingers. Let's give this a go. So
Right.
I sort of reach into the crack of this shark's mouth, feel around inside its mouth, and then find the on switch. And I flick this on switch, and then boom! All of a sudden, this thing lets go. And this was like after stabbing it, after spearing it, it was the shark shield when I turned it on that actually popped this thing off of me. And then I'm like, let's get to the surface. And when I get to the surface, it's like the sweetest air I have
It's,
ever tasted, man. I still remember it to this day. It was like, I want to live.
yeah, man. Because the minute you was in that water, man, you didn't know what was gonna happen after that. That's scary. Like I don't understand how. I mean, for me, I don't hang around sharks like that. I don't understand how you can actually, and people in Australia can actually deal with those sharks and snakes. And I don't do them. I can't do them. Like straight up, it's a fear. Okay, I'll turn in my man card on that. I don't give a damn. Like I am like I don't do them. I fear the crap out of them, and no, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's barely like when I take my daughter to the zoo. There are so many animals that I fear seeing: crocodiles, alligators, snakes. You know, and yes, it's petrifying for me. I can't do it. It's hard.
Oh, there's a
But
reason for that. Our
yeah.
ancestors survived because we had that pattern recognition. And this is why some people, when they
Mhm.
see a hose in the ground, they'll jump a million miles an hour because that image of a snake, you don't even have time to process it. You just like, or something dark under the water. That is like this primal
Mhm.
fear.
Yeah.
And believe you me, growing up having nightmares of sharks, this is kind of like my dyslexic pattern recognition couldn't ignore the fact that the
Mhm.
thing that I was scared of most, as I went towards it, it's like my world became bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
and I think moving towards it can be slow and incremental. but then
Hmm.
notice that there's a. I would only I would only ask for people to treat their energy like money in the way that how you invest it's how you get it back. And
Yeah.
if you've got 20 cents worth of capital, you know what? I might just put my hand on the glass of that, snake in a glass cage. Put my hand and just take a few breaths. Oh, actually, you know what? That I'm just trying to get to the point where you don't jump in the snake pit, you don't jump in the ocean.
Yeah.
I've found that incrementally, you know, increasing your awareness, increasing your understanding,
Hmm.
getting rid of that, getting rid of the fear that's based on ignorance. Because there are
Correct.
things to be aware of, but then there's the things
Hmm.
that you've just made up in your head. Like I made up
Right.
in my head that getting in the water was suicide. That when you get in the water and it's dark, then you're dead, right?
Yeah.
But as I gently started challenging those rules, I realized how many rules that I'd put in place and then how many rules that were actually in place, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, it's crazy because like, I'll see different things like people in California, they'll go and they'll surf. You know what I'm saying? They'll go to the beach and they'll surf and they have a golly good time. And I'm looking at these people like, what the hell are y'all so excited about? Like, y'all can't even see like if there's a shark gonna come or nothing like that. And it gets worse like that in Florida too. It's the same way. Ain't no way in hell. Like, because every time I see that, it's a whole nother level of that fear. And it's hard for me to watch, you know, what's going on in the news and stuff like that because of, what they can do. But people are like, oh yeah, I got bit in the leg and the shark ripped my damn arm off and hey, I survived. I'm going to, recover and I'm gonna go for it again. I'm like, you're a good one, but you're an idiot. This is just me talking. I'm not saying that they're a complete idiots. I mean,
But
more
it would
power
make
to them.
sense. Looking from the outside in, why the hell would you get them? Why the hell would you go to something where harm could befall you? And why, if you've got harmed in that environment, would you ever go back there? And
Mm,
that is what we would say the seen realm. Okay.
right, right.
But then there's the unseen realm. And
Yeah,
the unseen realm, and it kind of shows up when it comes to, energetic exchange. Energy's like money, how you invest it's how you get it back, like I said. So these guys that say donated their arm to the ocean to a shark,
hmm,
they'd been, investing, $2 to get in the water, they're getting 20 grand back. That's
right.
the invisible part of things that people
Hmm.
can't see. And
For
yes,
sure.
there's a risk involved, but what they know,
Hmm.
there's no risk in if I invest a few hours in the surf, I'm going to be this energetic millionaire for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And that
No, that's
is
true.
that is the unseen part. That's the stuff that once you get embodied, um, and again, I think we're talking about an energy system that
Hmm.
existed before words existed. So
Hmm.
before us humans in our evolution, before we were thinking and speaking and putting paintings on rock walls, our body was experiencing certain things.
Hmm.
Experiencing being in water, being in different temperatures, going up against predatory animals,
Hmm.
connecting with other humans,
Yeah.
dancing, singing, all
Yeah.
these things. And it's very much in the unspoken, unseen realm that once your body is in that particular space, only you can see the amount of goodness you get from it.
Hmm.
And and also you'd see that life would not be worth living if you weren't in that space. And if it was
Yeah.
completely safe, there'd actually be a bit less return on your investment, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
having that risk, making that choice. And that's, I think, this is what we all have a very high energetic return on taking risk. And that's why we
Mhm.
created amusement parks. We
True.
can get the sensation of risking our life, putting ourselves at risk. And that's such an energetic return because our whole system raises up to meet it. Wow, I felt amazing, energized. I'm hungry now,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. I really just had to, that was the first thing I literally had to do. I had to get that out of the way. I had to get that gist from you because that was on the forefront of my mind. I'm like, how do you was you able to like survive that? How was you like able to just, you know, move forward in that sense after that just scary, just very scary. Whew, like me, I'd have been traumatized for fucking years. Like it'd have been hard. Like I would have like had a phobia at that point.
Well,
It'd have been hard.
Darrell, I love that you're sharing openly and you're actually painting a very clear picture um, because this is where people like, don't- you think as a soldier I'd get used to fear, right? Because
Sure.
I'm and the fact was I never
No, I
did,
understand.
right? I never got
Right.
used to fear, but because I was exposed to it so much, allow me just to speak
Yeah.
to how it occurred to me, because a lot of
Okay.
other people have seen the pattern in it, and once you see the pattern in fear, then
Hmm.
it doesn't have as much of a hold on you. So what I discovered, Darrell, is that fear has no interest in making you scared.
Correct.
That's our reaction to it. Fear's ultimate goal is to immobilize you, to stop you from taking any actions.
Hmm.
So think about this: if someone is trying to make you fearful, ultimately what they're trying to do is to immobilize you, to not take any actions, to not take any reactions. So
Hmm.
the in my mind, the opposite of fear isn't
Hmm.
love. The opposite of fear is action.
Sure.
Taking action dispels fear. And that fear is really real. It's really there until we actually take an action. And you know what one of the best actions is?
Yeah. Was it? Yeah.
Breathing is an action, and it is one of
Yeah.
the
Beautiful.
best actions you can take to dispel fear. And I want to just make this real for a second because
Sure.
you were close yourself to being inactive in your fear before we first met. You almost cancelled on us
Correct.
that very morning,
Yes.
right? Because it wasn't.
Yes.
And remember, so fear wanted to immobilize you, but you took action.
Hmm. I did. You're right.
And what happened from that point onwards? Well, no,
Man.
paint the picture. What were you fearful of before we actually had our first chat? Because I reached out to you, and then
Hmm.
what happened as a result of you actually just taking those first, imperfect actions?
Okay. So after that, after I sent off that email to you, the first thing I thought in my mind was one thing. I just felt like I missed that opportunity. That's what I felt at first. And so I was like, okay, that's a relief. But then as minutes went by, that's when, a lot of the doubt and, you know, being like anxious started coming up. And then it got worse when you emailed me back. I knew it was coming to a reality. Like, yay, at the same time, all right. Like, I think I still got this chance, but then it's like, okay, now the anxiety is hitting, everything is hitting on all cylinders. Because, like I said before, man, because you were actually the first that actually came on and we actually had a conversation. We did everything. That was the best. And at that point, that really took me out of my comfort zone. It took me out of my comfort zone because I've never done that. Like before all of that, I was just talking into this microphone and I was just doing different things. I was trying out different things. And then I get into the fourth year, my fourth year into it, I'm making these changes and then you came along. And then after that, after, our first conversation, I felt a lot more better. I was relieved. I was like, took that deep breath and I just breathe in that fresh air and it's like, oh, man, this feels kind of good. And I've been off and rolling on that ever since. And I haven't even looked back because I finally stepped out of that comfort zone to actually have that conversation with you to,
Yeah.
you know, see other people come in and have, these emails, emailing me and wanting to have different conversations on what they want to advocate on. And, I may not know a lot of things about different types of these mental things that people deal with in advocacy. But hell, I'll be willing to listen. I'm willing to ask the questions. I'm willing to, you know, open myself up to a whole new level of discomfort because I don't know nothing about it. So ever since that happened, and ever since I've had this conversation with you, the very, very first time we met back in February, ever since we had it, I have been on the unknowns of discomfort, and it's been like that every single time, and it's different. So yeah, just having that little anxiety, even before, like even when the people come on, I still get that anxiety. I still get the little nervousness and trying to recoup myself. But you've been on, this is your third time. Like after the second time, I was like, man, this is nothing, man. I can come on here and be like, I'm excited to do this, man. I'm ready. Let's go. Like, let's do this, man. It's been like, it's been amazing. And I'm still getting them as we speak. Like, I've already gotten a couple of more emails today. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still waiting on Neil to, you know, book and come on and us have the conversation. I'm still gonna feel that. I'm still gonna feel the anxiety. I'm still gonna feel the discomfort. I'm still gonna be coming out of my comfort zone because there's gonna be things that they want to talk about I may not know nothing about. So that, yeah, it's
Yeah,
adrenaline
man.
at that point.
No,
You know what I'm saying? It's adrenaline, and
I,
that's
I,
how I.
yeah, yeah. So that nervous energy is still energy, you know,
Yes,
and
yes,
it's and we can make it exciting or we can make it paralyzing. Uh,
correct.
and what you articulated there was so, excuse me, so um, honest and truthful in the way
Mhm.
that, okay, before we did our had our first conversation,
Yeah.
there was a part of you that you were familiar with talking on the microphone with yourself. That was
Yes.
familiar. And what was
Yes.
unfamiliar was having a conversation with someone else.
Hmm.
And there was a fear you had in your head that kept you in the familiar. And that was, what if I'm not enough? What if I can't
Right.
bring enough?
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
And that part of our head, that fear that keeps us in the familiar, is actually
Hmm.
taking up a certain amount of energy, say 25% of your thought
Hmm.
pattern at any time. And it's always doing that. And it only shows up
Hmm.
when you actually step into something powerful that could be potentially kicking it out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So when you said, no, I actually want to get on a podcast with somebody, that part of you that was taking up 20, that disempowered part, that fearful part that was taking up
Mm.
25% as a guess,
Yeah.
of your energy. It goes, oh, if Darrell does this and he confronts his fear and he becomes powerful, I'm getting kicked out. I can't
Hmm.
let that happen. And so
Hmm.
these things, these fears in our head, that the most powerful thing they have is they attach their existence to our survival. You will
Hmm.
die. It'll feel like a part of you are going to die if you go and do this thing that's unfamiliar. And that's how they sort of maintain themselves. And if you want to make a more gentle version of that, like before
Yeah.
you do exercise, there's always a part of you going, let's not do this now, let's do this later. Can I just play on my phone for a bit? Because that's the disempowered parts of you, knowing that when you do your workout and you become physically empowered, that's kicked out. And you get to
Yes.
choose who's in there. So understand that when you're feeling the most resistance, that's when something super powerful is about to happen.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
so reinterpreting all those things of, oh, don't do this, I'm scared, this is unfamiliar, that's the clearest
Yeah.
indicator that something super powerful is coming your way. And it's about to
Yeah.
kick out all those disempowered parts. Sorry, Darrell, I just cut you off.
No, you didn't. I was because I was going to say something, but you was making some good points because you said something that I've been experiencing lately because of what I've been going through, and when you talked about exercise, now I do like a little bit of exercise. I don't spend a lot of time in that area because my job is like literally the exercising fort of exercising, right? So I'm spending maybe about anywhere between 4.5, maybe about 6 hours doing that, lifting heavy boxes. I'm damn near feel like I'm doing some army workouts,
Did did
military
anyone else
workouts.
notice Darrell's deep breath there when he for a second his eyes went to one side. He thought about work and he went, there was
It's
some processing going on there. Just I'm not stepping over that because you did that. You went like this. You talked about
I
work. You
did.
went, so
Yes, I felt I know
I
I
got
did
you.
it.
I
But you
got you.
got me because normally when I do that, I do take a big breath and I let out this like either unsatisfied or satisfied or whatever it could be, this type
Yeah.
of breath. And it was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I felt that and yeah, you pinpointed that correctly. But it was like like when I do that, when I work and do all of that, I'll come home and I would try to pinpoint when I want to do like a small workout, just a small workout. And at one point, I'll say, okay, I'm gonna do this when I get home. Like literally when I get home. I'll come home and I'll get started and I can knock it out. So I'll start doing it and then maybe like a couple of weeks later, my body's paying for it. So it's like, maybe let's wait this one out. Like, can you just like wait maybe until into the late afternoon or something and we can go from there.
Darrell, what are you doing that's hurting you the next day?
Well, it's not like it was in the moment. It's like soreness a little bit, but
Okay.
mainly what I'm just doing it. All I'm doing is just push-ups.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
That's all
look,
I'm doing. Push-ups.
if anyone thinks push-ups aren't a full body exercise, do 50 and get back to me. They are a full body exercise. And I'll just say this now, Darrell.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm going to give you 30 years of fitness lessons
Okay,
now. Okay.
sure.
What do you think is better? A
Okay.
thousand workouts at 60% or 10 workouts at 100%?
Damn, that's a good question. Oh, uh, the way I'm, okay, I'm going
Just
to answer this
there's no
based off
wrong or
how
just
I'm feeling. No, it's no wrong answer, but I'm basing it how I'm feeling. Man, I think the second one. What'd you say? The second 10 push-ups, like or 10 workouts and
No,
like
no, 10
100%?
workout, it's 1,000 workouts at 60% or 10 workouts at 100%.
They both sound good, but like they're both like reasonable, but I'll say the second one. Like,
Okay. So most people think the harder you work out, the more results you get. And that's
yeah,
true up until a point. But here's the thing. The world we currently live in has no expectation of our physical bodies.
right,
Okay?
right.
And
Hmm.
so we usually do things, I usually do things that are easy, effortless, and comfortable for a lot longer than I do things
Yeah,
that are hard, uncomfortable, and leave me in pain.
correct.
So the idea here is understanding that if you do 1,000 workouts at 60%, that 60% is growing. By the time you get to
Yeah,
300, your 60% is your old 100%, and you've still got 700 more to go.
right.
So whatever I want, the best advice I give myself and others is when you're starting a physical routine, think about what you want to do. All right, I want to run, say, 2 kilometers. Just say, for example, I say
Sure.
cut that in half and take 20% off. So what's
Okay.
half of 2 miles? 1 mile, 20% off, just under that. And the idea is to do that physical thing and leave thinking, man, I could have done more. Because guess what? You've just created momentum. You've just pulled a bow back for your next workout. And that you'll be able to go, oh, I'm going to do the next workout. And as, 50 workouts go by, as 100, 150, this thing is gently expanding and expanding. So I always tell myself, look, Tim, you can bleed from the eyeballs in 3 or 4 months' time, but let's take what we want, cut it in half, and take 20% off. So instead of doing however many push ups you do, cut that in half, take 20% off, and maybe just scatter that through the day. Because it's not the workout that's hard. It's organizing everything in our busy Western lifestyle to actually turn up. And if that
Right.
thing becomes hard and we're sore, then there's resistance to doing it, and it becomes very effortful. So does that land over there?
It do because it's funny because you said that because when I actually like decided that I was going to do it, I gave myself a goal. I gave myself a goal. And even though it wasn't in the way that you just described it, but my whole goal was to at least reach the peak of 100 push-ups. And I think it was at the time, I forgot what they call them. I think like 20 squats. And I just take some weights and
Yep.
I just do some little regular squats or whatever. I think it was like 20. So what ended up happening was that I actually did 50 push-ups instead. Like, okay, as long
You
as I
just
did
straight up
50,
did
I'm
50
okay.
push-ups.
Yes, at that
Wow,
point.
that's a lot.
At that point, yes, I did 50. And I was like, okay, I'll keep working until I could get up to 100. And I only did 10 squats at that time. I think this was about maybe a couple of months ago, roughly about a couple months ago. And from there to now, I have actually hit the 100 push up goal. I just hit that goal maybe like a couple of weeks ago. And I'm still trying to hit that squat goal of 20. I'm like at 10, still 10, 15 ish, because it's more harder to do. For me, it's harder because of, all the movements that I'm doing at my job. It's really crazy. So I've been just trying to take it a step at a time. But it just seems like I have more upper body strength than I do lower body strength. And that's what I've been trying to work on. And it's
Well,
been kind of challenging.
I think also too, there's a bunch of, especially for men, neurological benefits to working our upper body, because our upper body is closer to our brain than our legs. So we can get a
Hmm.
lot of stimuli from working our upper body. And, punching, striking, these are all things that our upper body does. I would encourage you, when you're ready, to do them on your knuckles, getting your
Right.
grip strength as part of your longevity program. But a lot of people talk, exercise, they talk this and that. I like to
Yeah.
get a bit behind that and say, Darrell, why do you want to do 100 push ups? What do you think will happen if you can do 100 push ups?
Okay. Bear with me here. Like this is where like I kind of think about things here because the minute that I decided to do this was pretty much difficult times that I had in a previous relationship. And I was suffering through depression. I was suffering through anxiety. I was suffering pretty much the whole nine freaking yards, man. And at that point, that's when I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, damn, I'm just not feeling real good about myself. Right. Because if we would have met a couple of years back, hell, even maybe 2021, I was at a peak at 324 pounds. I was not good at all. And that's when I knew that at that point that a change had to be made, right? Rather if it was big or small, but I knew that I had to start small. I had to. And then fast forwarding to like last year, 2025, when I went to get my arm looked at and got diagnosed with like cubital carpal syndrome or something like that. I think that's what it's called. And that's when also drew blood. That's when I learned that I was a type 2 diabetic. That's when I had to really up my change. So making changes to the way I eat, making changes to, how I am to myself. I was an asshole. I was evil. I was everything in the book, nothing but negative. All right, just negative. And that's when I had to make that choice. Like my daughter was born. She's looking up to me for, a lot of emotional support, physical support. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to have to start small. But if I start small, I can't let up at any point to where, I can't stop. I have to kind of keep it moving. So I tried different things. I was, lifting a little bit of weights. I had actually got um a subscription to go to the gym, paid a monthly subscription to go to the gym, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But
And
then,
Darrell, I might just chime in here. If people are resonating
sure.
with what Darrell was at, you may discover how many, when you're looking for solutions, you'll discover how many marketers are out there trying to capitalize on your discontentment, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and it's really a case of finding a way forward that works for you, because there's
Mhm.
plenty of, like I said, it's not an age of information we're in currently. It's an age of marketing, and you don't
Right.
discover that until you're in a position that you're hurting and you want a solution, and all these people are promising but not actually delivering. So I'm
Mhm.
interested to see how you navigated your way through that.
So, after the subscription to the gym has stopped, like, yeah, the tiles was getting a little bit difficult money wise. So that's when I decided to take a different approach. I'll, actually spend that money to buy weights from Amazon or wherever else I can actually buy weights and stuff. And I still got them with me. He's sitting behind me some damn where, but I still use those to the core. I still have the bars that I use too. And so I started using that. And then I stopped again. I stopped again. And because at that point I was working a job where it got dissolved and I hit a depression point and all I did was emotionally ate. And you know, um, it wasn't about at this point myself. It was just me just trying to survive the way of the day and hoping that I'll make it to another day.
Yeah.
Then, of course, I realized if I keep doing this shit, I'm not going to see another fucking day. So I had to rewind again and start thinking about some shit seriously. And that's when, ever since I started at FedEx, that was in 2024. And ever since then, I've been on that kick. I've actually been more consistent now than I have then. That's when I've actually started putting in use little small push-ups or I do a little leg workout and I've been staying consistent with it even though at like at 2024 and half of 2025 I wasn't making that goal of 100. Hell, I wasn't even making the goal of 50 either. I was close to it, but I wasn't making it. It wasn't until this year is literally when I started hitting those goals a lot more better. So to pretty much answer your question was that I knew that this was going to have to be about consistency and not motivation.
Yeah.
So if I knew that I could be consistent of doing the workouts, the motivation would be there because the motivation is only a boost to, what you do. And
Yep.
that's how I look at it on this side note. This is how I looked at it when I did this podcast. When we go back to me and you, like when I first met you, you were the giveaway to me being consistent because you was the first person that actually came on, had this conversation because like I said before, I wasn't doing this fucking podcast every day until you showed up. When you showed up, that's when the consistency started hitting. And I was doing it Monday through Friday. And then weekends, I had my daughter. And then Monday, I was back at it. After I get off, I'm right back at it. And I was doing it every single day up until May 29th. Now I'm done with year 4. Now that gives me time for myself. And that's when I kept being more consistent, going back to, the exercise. And that's when I kept being more consistent and more consistent. So I found something that kept me consistently consistent. If you understand what I
Wow.
mean.
No, no, no. And I'm also seeing how it just impacted so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Because connections connect to more things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you connected to your idea of going, okay, I want to do a podcast and interview people. That
Mm-hmm.
then led to the next thing, which was, okay, well, let's
Mm-hmm.
connect to some other stuff. Let's connect to our bodies. And this is what I've noticed. I don't like the term you're either living or you're dying. To me, you're either connecting and connection naturally wants to expand to more, or you're
Yeah.
disconnecting, you're finding comfort and eventually it's the biggest disconnect of all. Why do you want to be here, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So I just want to acknowledge you and I feel really fortunate to have been there at that initial stage where you were um, taking imperfect actions. You didn't wait for it to be perfect. You turned up.
Mm-hmm.
We had the conversation. It didn't need to be anything
Mm-hmm.
other than an action that dispelled a bunch of fears. And
Yes.
then as you stepped into that, oh, I'm stepping into this, what I think is fear, but it's not stopping me. I'll take another action. And I just want you to consider for a second,
Hmm.
if the choices we make create our future,
Hmm.
what kind of future would it have been if you listen to those fears and say, don't engage on this first podcast with another person, which happened to be me at the time, right? You could have,
Right.
in some
Right.
reality, you could have said, nah, I'm not doing that. What kind of future would you be living in now had you chosen not to confront that fear?
Well,
I
that's a
saw the
good
breath.
question. You get your silent breath again. Because you asked a good ass question, and yeah, this is a good question. So yes, at that point, if me and you never really would have happened, I think I probably would have literally stepped back into my old ways. I probably would have just kept going the same way I was doing and not, you know, use the emails to have people email me. I just literally would have, like you said, like you thought I was going to ghost the idea. I damn near would have. I damn near would have actually ghosted that idea. I just would have just kept talking to this mic, and then I just would have been another lost creature. And that to me would have been problematic. And that probably would have been probably too late by then. But that that's why I was always willing to make those changes. I was willing to actually do it because I've been there before. I've been to a point where I missed out on opportunities that I felt I should have actually taken. I've missed out on a lot of things that I felt that was great for me. And because I wasn't comfortable enough, I wanted to stay where I was at. I wanted to be comfortable, but I wasn't comfortable enough. And that's why I said, like, I think it was the second time we met. That's why I said, dude, you don't understand what you did to me. The minute that you actually literally emailed me back and we had that first conversation, you don't understand what you did to me. That changed so much about myself that, damn, I found the fucking calling that I could really do and be able to, listen to people, hear them out, and being able to do, just that. You really changed everything. Because like if I didn't do that, yeah, I'd have been in a world of trouble. Like I just and it's hard for me to even think about that because all it would have done was put me back into the same depression. I probably would have been came home, took a shower, watched TV, and went to bed. And that would have been my whole entire day. But like when I knew that the time and changes was going to be made, when I seen you email me, I was like, yeah, I got to get this opportunity in. I need to see what can happen because I need something to happen. And it happened.
Yeah, Darrell, I want to, because interacting with other humans done right feels very natural. Feels very natural,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
and
Yes.
to me, trees naturally like putting their branches in the sun.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
but as humans, it's like we get a choice. We can either put our branches in the sun or we can tuck them in and stay protected, right?
Yeah.
And for me, when you chose to sort of open your branches, it was like, well, that felt good. Oh, more please, that felt good, and you just sort of kept on expanding.
Yeah.
And I want to share with you because you talked about a lot of great things and
Okay.
grateful. I want to share with you a gratitude exercise that I found is super powerful. And I'm going to try and do it for you to get a sense
Okay.
of how much you can appreciate what the choices you made, the version of Darrell 3 or 4 months ago that made that
Yeah.
choice. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so I want you for just a second
Okay.
to think about the last 3 or 4 months and all the fantastic conversations and people you've met and
Hmm.
interactions that you've had.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want you to, just for fun, put them all those great conversations and people and energy and exchanges, put them all in your thumb, and then take that
Yeah.
thumb and put it into your sternum and take 3
Okay.
deep breaths and feel through your body all those people, all those interactions, all those conversations, and just feel where it is in your body. All those connection points.
Man. Man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Let me
Now,
let me
now,
just tell you.
yeah,
Go ahead.
listening.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
No,
I'm
share.
sorry.
Please
Go
share.
ahead. No, I was gonna
But
say.
keep your thumb in your chest. My request is you
Okay.
keep your thumb in your chest as
My
we're
bad.
talking about it, because we're
Sorry about
we're
it. My bad.
creating a visceral connection to those things that you've
Okay.
been doing the last 3 or 4 months.
Okay. So there's two people that I've had good connections besides you, which would have been three. But there's two others. Scott Lackey. He's been one of the ones that we've connected very well when it came down to his struggles. And he related to me very well, and we both related to each other, so to speak. And then the other one was Keith Cole. And both of them had spent time, I think it was in the military, or I think it was the military. They both spent time in military, and they suffer from PTSD and um, depression also mainly too. And I connected with them very well.
Mm.
Off the top of my head, it's them
Okay,
two.
so let's take one breath for each of those
Okay,
people and feel in your body
sure.
where you're feeling it for those two people. Now, this is where this part gets a little bit real.
Okay,
Okay, and you're going to have to
all right,
sit with this for a second.
sure.
We're gonna take this thumb out of our chest and imagine what life had been like if you chose to not meet those people, not have those conversations, and they're no longer in your life, and you're in a different version of reality right now. And I know it's going to be hard, but I'm just going to request you breathe into that space where you would be currently had you not chosen to have, you know, the last 3 or 4 months of you actually connecting. So just breathe into the version of you that would be existing right now without those conversations, without those connections with others. And you may actually find it hard to breathe right now, but that's okay.
Sure.
And all I'm
I
going to
would have been
ask you to do is,
suicidal.
yeah, well, it's tangible, the difference in our energy system. So what we're going to do now
Yeah.
is, with joy and gratefulness, put them back in our
Okay.
lives and take some celebratory. Yes, this is the reality I'm in. Yes, I have those people in my life. Yes, this is my life right now. Oh, feels so
Man.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Like it's one of those relief feelings. Like you feeling like accomplished. You feel like you succeeded somewhere. Even if it's small, you still succeeded. You took
That is not
one small
small.
step. I know, like it just
Yeah.
feels like that. Like
And you know, you were in the same body, but for one moment you were occupying a nervous system that had gratitude. The
yes.
other, when we swung the pendulum to the other side and imagine our lives without those things, the
Yeah.
vacuum of them being there, it helps us appreciate what we actually have when we go without it for a
Mhm.
second, even if it's just a few breaths in your own mind, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to breathe, but then when you integrate that back in and you so what I
Yeah.
encourage people to do as a takeaway, Darrell and I have had a fantastic conversation. I could talk to this man all day. But one little
Yes.
thing
Yes, sir.
that works for me and I hope it works for you is think of something you
Sure.
truly treasure, push that thumb into your chest, take 3 breaths appreciating it, and then pull
Yeah.
that thumb out of your chest and take 3 breaths imagining what life would be like without that person, place or thing. And if it's real, it's hard to breathe, but that's part of the process. And then you put it back in, and it's the truest form of gratitude when you can
Yeah.
truly appreciate something without it being taken away. And I normally do that with 3 fingers, 3 things,
Sure.
three, like 9 breaths times 3, 27 breaths. I normally do it.
When,
You can do it anywhere, but the point is, if just play with that, your own
okay.
fingers, your own breath, the things that are in your life, and it could be something as simple as, hey, I'm really grateful that I've got fresh water to drink, and I'll take 3 deep
Absolutely.
breaths, and then I'll
Yeah,
imagine my
buddy.
life without fresh water and really dive into that space, because I tell you, that's a reality for a lot of people in this world. My day
Hmm.
would be spent walking to get good water for the people I care about and walking all the way back. Forget about doing all the other stuff I want to do with my life. But no,
True.
all I need to do is turn on a tap, clean water, and I'm like winning. Okay. So this is where you can take the obvious stuff in your world, put it in, take it away, go, holy shit, I am so blessed, and put it back in with rejoicing. You know, fresh air, the technology we have to speak, you know, the hot beverage we're drinking right now.
Yeah.
These are the things that,
Absolutely.
I just wanted to highlight. So, Darrell, do you get a real sense of yourself and the choices you've made in this last short period of time, and what life could have been like without it to what it actually is right now?
Yeah. For sure. For sure. It's been those journeys where, I get like, I feel a little different or like I feel a little doubt, but there's been a big change between that and now. It's been a tremendous big like change. And I'm really happy that it happened. I'm really happy that, I took that initiative first step to make it happen. If I'd have never made that happen, God knows where I would have been. And trust me, it's not something I really don't like thinking about either. But
Well, yeah,
trust
Darrell,
me,
you would
it's,
know where you would
yeah.
go if you weren't a connected
Hmm.
human, and it's just a
Hmm.
really awkward and uncomfortable thing to think about. But it's not a bad thing to think about in the way that
No.
it can give us momentum to keep aiming towards what we want to aim towards. And I might say this: it's the powerful choices we make
Hmm.
never give you a problem-free life. They just give you a higher quality of problem.
Right.
So
That's
let's
true.
say there's the version of Darrell that right now his problem is, oh crap, I got so many emails I got to deal with and organize, and I got to organize everything else, right? That's a
Hmm.
thing, right? But then there's the problems that, let's say, the Darrell from 3 months ago chose to stay isolated. His thing
Hmm.
was, well, I'm struggling to do 5 push-ups and even have the motivation, as a potential outcome there, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
for me, it's not about never having problem. It's about having the high quality problems in your life and
Right.
having higher quality problems as you move forward.
Hmm. And that's where like I had to start somewhere. That was the whole point in just doing it, period. Like not being funny, but thank God I looked in that spam. Like if I didn't look in that
Oh, was my
spam,
message
man.
in spam?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Oh, I didn't know
Like
that.
Yeah, I said it. I said it the last time. I
Your
said your messages is
filters in the
spam.
world are too tight. You got to let more in. You got to get rid of those
I, said,
filters to the outside world.
I thought I
That's
said
a
it like I live.
metaphor. That's your metaphor. You got to let more in, Darrell. You're
I really
isolating.
like I what that was not my whole intent. Like you didn't even come up. Like I had to look through the spam. Like that's how most of the people that came in contact with me ended up being. With now you're not the only one now. Back then you were. But
Yeah.
now I still get a lot more people from spam that is not in my contacts that'll still come on and we'll still have conversations. But if I never would have looked there, man, man, I don't know what would have happened, man. I just would have been like, damn,
Well,
how am I doing these more?
I think, when we talk about energy naturally wants to connect with more things. And I always ask the question when I was struggling, how many other people are in the same situation as me? How many people are up against what I'm up against right now?
Mhm.
And if I can make a way forward for me, I'm
Right.
going to be able to make a way forward for them.
Sure.
And I really invite people to give it a real number. Everyone listening right now, what are you up against?
Mhm.
What's the obstacle in front of you? Whatever it is. Ask how many other people are up against what you're up against in this world currently and give it a number. And,
Mhm.
there's 7 billion people on the planet. There's probably comfortably a couple of million.
Right.
And if we can put,
Right.
1 million on our right, 1 million on our left, they're all looking in, willing us on. Because it can be really
Mhm.
hard, especially in the starting stages of, just to make an inch of progress can feel like a lot of work for a very small return. But if you've got 2 million people either side of you, you're actually making 2 million inches of progress. And so I want you to sort of contextualize the gains that you make.
Yep.
Because, Darrell, you can now be the person that breaks someone else's isolation.
Absolutely. That's the whole point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if there's something there that I can either break or relate to someone or anything of that sort that help in some way, that's just the whole point in doing it. That's the whole point. Like I knew that that's where I wanted to start, but I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to start. And when I learned that, that's when I knew that I had to kind of, start focusing on trying different things and getting out of my comfort zone. And if I didn't do that, then I'll still be, stuck in this gap, not the gap, but like stuck in this little thin line of, you know, I would like to call confusion. Like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know how else I'm able to actually go and just, you know, do this, help people, or see if people can relate to me in some way or something like that, or do this podcast or whatever, or even if it's for my own, you know, doing some workouts or whatever, I wouldn't even be in this position. And I'm more than grateful that it happened. I am. I'm more than grateful that it happened. So, yeah, I wanted to ask you before we leave, like, how was your Father's Day, man?
Well, in Australia, we celebrate it on a different day. Um,
Oh, okay. I didn't
yeah.
even know that. See, we just had our
Well,
Sundays,
in,
so
in the States, you guys think the world rotates around you guys.
I know it's like I forgot you're upside
That's
down.
okay.
So,
That's okay. It was actually quite nice to get Father's Day
okay,
greetings. It was a bit like Christmas in July
there you
from
go.
a lot of my mates in the States.
Okay.
But to speak to that, I did have like a fatherly experience because I turned 53 last week, and the kids came around. we had some wonderful food together. I got a lovely card, and they're all grown up, my kids. They're doing their own
Oh
thing,
yeah.
so they no longer need to spend time with dad. So when they do spend time, it's because they've chosen to. So that's quite a big thing. Yeah. So every time we spend time together, it's a deliberate choice of all the things that they could be doing in their busy 20, 21-year-old lives, um, to have time with them is, yeah, it's one of those things that in that gratitude, I
Yeah.
imagine, life with my kids. Thank you. And then life
Yes.
without my kids. And again, it's hard to breathe. But then when
Mm,
you put them back in, then the smallest things become the most beautiful. And this is
yeah.
this is what connection does. It doesn't just connect you to the big things. It connects you to the all the small, incredible beauty that we would otherwise miss if we were just sort of stuck in our own worlds. Life becomes genuinely beautiful when we
Yeah.
start being aware and connected to all the small subtleties that we can often, not see.
Hmm. And you don't look 53 at all. I thought like the first minute I met you, I thought you was in your mid 40s. Literally,
It's
like
very it's
you
very
don't
kind of
look
you.
53, dude. That I mean, you're
Well,
taking good care of yourself. That's good.
well,
Like
I
that's
mean,
that's
well, the thing is, I made a promise at 20 when I turned 25.
uh-huh.
Um, I felt lost, but I'm like, well, what do I know? I've got a concept of time of about 25 years. So,
Yeah.
and it didn't seem to go that long. It felt like a click of the fingers, right?
Yeah.
So, Tim, you're going to click your fingers again and you're going to be 50. Time machines don't exist. What would the 50-year-old version of you say to the 25-year-old version of you? And it went along the lines of, Tim, you've proven you can live with not a lot of money, not and people not thinking very much of you, but you can't live with regret. That is one pain that is worse than death. So as much as I didn't know what I wanted to do, I had a great awareness of what I didn't want to do. And so when I'm
Right.
when I'm working with people, I'll often say, what's the worst scenario you can imagine yourself in? And they're quite good and they're quite vivid, and I'll get them to sit in that. And then I'll say, well, okay, what's the opposite of that? Let's just work off the opposite of what you know, because people are very knowing on what they don't want, and it can actually be a really clear indicator and point of separation to what you do want. Anyway,
Sure.
I, as much as I didn't think I would, I made it to 50. And I was proud of the 25-year-old version of me that put those things into place and asked those questions. And so now in my 50s, I've made a promise to my son. So I'm going to try and share the screen actually.
Okay.
I'm just sent you a little
Oh,
request to
yep.
share my
Yep.
screen.
Mhm. I got it. There you go.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to share something here. So this is literally my screensaver, right? Can you see that?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
So that's my son, Corbin, in the middle.
In the
This
middle.
was
Okay.
probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Hmm.
And him and I, we enjoy doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, submission wrestling, right?
I thought that's what it was.
Yeah. And uh, I'll tell you the story around the give him hell part on his belt, but but I'll share the promise I made to myself to my son.
Hmm.
I said, Corbin, my
Okay.
promise to you is when you have a 21-year-old son, I'm going to be wrestling just as hard. So every day I train right now, I'm
Hmm.
training so I can throw down with my 21-year-old grandson because I don't want to give
That's
my
right.
grandson a bunch of crap he didn't earn. I'm going to be
Hmm.
the grandfather that gets down, plays with him on the ground, wrestles with him on the ground, and regardless, that's going to be a very clear indicator of what's possible because kids don't always do what they're told. I know I never did, but they'll pay close attention to what we do. And I will, if I may, if I could
Hmm.
be indulged, if I could
Sure.
speak with great pride about that photograph, because
Okay.
Corbin had studied for 3 years pretty hard to get awarded his blue belt. And that's why, that photograph was of his blue belt award ceremony, right?
Yeah.
But what you
Yeah.
don't see in that photo is that the state titles were on the next week. And Corbin's coach was saying, hey, fight as a white belt, win the white belt division, and then we'll
Yeah.
give you your blue belt. And that's what happened to me. When I was a white belt, they said, fight in
Mhm.
these things, win those things, and then we'll give you your blue belt. And then I had a conversation with my son that I wish I had with myself when I was at that point.
Yeah.
Because my father was no athlete. I think I saw him run once. He wasn't
Mhm.
unhealthy, but my whole life I saw him run once. There was
Right.
no guidance to any form of physical discipline in my family. This is all stuff that I sort of discovered myself. Anyway,
Yeah, you
I
just broke
said to
that barrier
Corbin
right there.
before the state titles, and he's 18 there, right? And
Hmm.
this is his first division as an adult. When you're 18, then you're fighting, 20, 30, 40-year-olds, right? And that's
Yeah.
a bit of a shift from fighting people your age to fighting grown men, right?
Yeah.
I said to Corbin before the fights, I said, look, your coach wants you to fight as a white belt. That's acceptable. And there's no
Hmm.
wrong answers here, but I'm going to share something with you that I wish someone shared with me.
Yeah.
With your jiu-jitsu, do you want to win or do you want to get stronger? Because if I'm
Yeah.
being honest, I wanted to win so badly. I wanted people to
Yeah.
say, Tim, you're the greatest. And so I was using my fighting prowess to get a trophy to then affirm my sense of self-worth. So I wanted to win so badly because I was doing it out of deficit. I wasn't actually doing it. I was becoming stronger, but that wasn't the sole intention. So I told my son this. I said, look, I wanted to win. I wanted the public affirmation. And Corbin, no, there's no wrong answers here. Your
Right.
coach wants you to fight as a white belt, but consider if you take your blue belt and you fight as a blue belt, you are going to have a whole lot more space to grow, you know?
That's right.
But there's
That's
no
right.
judgment or no wrong answers. This is just the conversation I'm
Hmm.
having. And there was literally 10 seconds of silence, 1,000, 2,000, 3. I could hear his brain ticking over. And then he goes, you know what, Dad? I reckon I could give those blue belts hell.
There you go. Winning mentality.
And I'm like, it doesn't matter what happens now. He wins, loses.
Hmm.
He has got something right now, and
Got it.
he's got there himself, and so that's why we engrave that belt with "Give him hell," right?
Absolutely.
And I will say this: he fought in the blue belt division as a new blue belt, and often you're not just fighting grown men; you're fighting grown men that have sat at blue belt level for 6, 7 years. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so he was fighting this guy that was superior than him, but Corbin was like, yeah, you got my
Hmm.
arm, but I'm not tapping. And this guy was getting so exhausted, he started playing dirty, like went in back controls, like raking the face with your bones. And so
Oh.
Corbin's bleeding from the nose. They had to stop the fight because there was so much blood going on the mat, going over him. But he just refused to submit, and he fought the whole way through, and he gave him hell. And I watched the guy that beat him. He was so exhausted by the end of the fight. His next fight, he just fell over, right? And I said, Corbin, what do you think? If you fought that guy again, who do you think would win? He goes, yeah, I'd win, you know. So
Yeah.
he was. It's rare for young men, in particular, to have an experience where they put their body and mind on the line, and it activates like a deep ancient nervous system, which then tends to help them have clarity in so many other areas. So my longevity and my, turning 53, and just so you know, on my 53rd birthday, each year I do a fitness test, very similar to what you had to do to get into the Special Forces. And
Sure.
this year I did it with my son. And he
Hmm.
got to see, how many push-ups you had to do in 2 minutes, how many chin-ups you had to do, how much on the beep test you had to do. And, he saw in very plain sight I still could have technically gotten into the Special Forces. But, and my strength has actually gotten better over the years. My
Yeah.
cardio, I couldn't quite get to 10 on the beep test because I actually had diarrhea on the day. I'm just saying that just because
Yeah.
when your bum's running, your legs don't run so well.
Yeah. Hmm.
But the point is, that's promise to my son is my next aim point. So at 75, when I get
Yeah.
to 75, I'm going to be all right. Okay, well there's the next one. And just so you know, Darrell, I was the oldest allowable age at 30 to get into Special Forces. They said, you're too old, right? And I'm like, well, honestly, I've never aged before. This is the first time I've done it, believe it or not. So
Hmm.
shouldn't it be me? Shouldn't it be us deciding what I can and can't do at a particular age? Should we let other people say,
Correct.
hey, you're 38, you're 48, you're 58, you can only do certain things? No, fuck that. That's where you
Yeah.
stop. This is where I start. This is the choices I'm making, you know?
That's right.
So this is where I say I'm living to 150.
Mm.
That's where I'm saying,
Sure.
I'm
Absolutely.
doing it. I'm writing the script of what I want to do in my 120s, you know, and the good times that are happening, that will happen because this is the first time we've aged. No one has ever aged before. I think it's only fair and just to say that we should be the ones deciding what we can and can't do at that particular
Hmm.
age. Otherwise, we risk getting bought into the, hypnosis of everyone else saying, oh, this is what happens at this age. Well, where's that written down? Really? You know,
Right.
where is it?
Right.
No, you've just all agreed. I disagree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you really just you set a whole brand example to your son. And that's where he got that mentality from. He really got that behavior from you. And that's how everything just worked out to his favor because of you. As a dad, you just stepped in, shown who the leader was, and he followed right into your path. So yeah, you broke a generational thing there.
Well, Darrell, what you said there, there's a lot in that. I do believe that the scientists are now discovering genetic knowledge. They're showing
Yeah.
that there's not just there's genes that are written in pen, but then there's genes that are written in pencil, and
Yep.
you can turn on and off certain genes. If you're smoking, drinking, eating too much,
Hmm.
you can pass down these poorly activated genes onto your kids, right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
conversely, yes, there's choices you can make to set your kids up powerfully. However, I do want to disagree here
Okay.
in the
Sure.
way that we can create an environment for seeds to grow, but
Hmm.
ultimately it's up to them whether they grow or not. So let's say my son and daughter lived a train wreck life. Would that then
Hmm.
automatically me say, okay, that's all on me? So I can, you can set up as best you can. You can consciously set up a garden to grow, but then you have to be careful how much you pat yourself on the back for when they're
Hmm.
doing good. Because if they end up doing bad, then is that my fault too? You know. So my as a father, I sort of see, well, my gift to my kids is giving them that support as they're growing, and then stepping back. Because I said to my kids, listen, your head's going to when you're an adult now, your head's going to hit the concrete a few times. As a father,
Right.
I'm going to put my hand in the way once. Okay. After that, your head's my best gift to you is having your head bounce off that concrete, and you learn the lesson. So
Yeah,
there's that love, but also lovingly let them experience the consequences of their own actions, and not trying to spare them from that.
that's true. That's true. Now, everybody has their different ways of doing these things, and yours is not wrong at all. That ain't wrong at all. That just shows how, you know, how well they turned out. They turned out real well. So, yeah, you're not wrong for it either. You're not wrong. But yeah,
Yeah, we got
hey,
another
we
10
we
minutes
been
out of
on.
that.
Yeah, we sure did. We up here. We did like we do. We just talk,
It's a,
talk,
it's
talk,
actually
talk,
really good
talk.
because right now it's 11:07 a.m. in Australia, and
Hmm.
every day at 11:11 I text my boy 11.11 just as a thing for no reason whatsoever, just so he knows that Dad's thinking of him at 11:11.
Love it. Love it. Never. Yeah, that's good. I love it. That's wonderful. But yeah, yeah, we gonna call this a wrap, man. We've been on the talk. Like I said, we could be talking all day, man. We just be talking and talking and talking. So yeah, sometimes you gotta have a point, and yeah, it's always good when you come on because we have very delightful conversations. Always.
Well,
It never phases to change.
well, Darrell, I've always felt like authentic conversations, especially between men, you can have this. It's like a warm fire that no matter what angle you sit on, you're getting warmth from it.
Yeah,
And that's what I
for
hope
sure.
this conversation has been like. People are just sitting around the
Mhm.
fire, enjoying the energy, feeling the
Yeah.
connection, and
Hmm.
hopefully, you know, anything that's blocking them has been softened, and they're more open to connection, more open to bringing the version of them into this world that gives them the highest quality problems.
For sure, man. For sure. For sure. But yeah, Tim, I like I say, I always appreciate you coming on, man. You multi come on and you've been like this your third time coming on. And you're the only one that's been coming on more than once. So
I'm the only guy that
that's how
blows you up on
important
your
this is.
WhatsApp. I'm the only one that wakes you up at probably 3 a.m. going, "Hey, look at
Hey.
this."
Yeah, that's the name of the game, man. But that's how it is sometimes. But hey, like when you do that, man, it's just like, hey, it's all different now. But shoot, it's cool. It's cool. I love it. I appreciate you still coming on. You still make the time to come on. I really do appreciate you, man. I love it. Thank you, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Daryl. This has been awesome.
It's been wonderful.